Welcome into the ranking show here on ProBox TV. If you don't know how it goes, all of us behind the scenes make a top 5 for a particular weight class, and we debate who made our top 5 list and who didn't. Download right now the ProBox TV app. Never fall behind in your boxing news. It's time for the big boys. That's right, the heavyweight division on fire right now, and some great fights coming up before the end of the year. Who made our top 5? To help me with the list, in studio, Jimmy Smith alongside Chris Algieri. Joining us via Zoom, we have Paulie Malignaggi and the coach, Teddy Atlas. Let's start out. Let's get it going, guys, at number 5. It is Jhilei Zhang, 27-2-1, 22 knockouts, a big heavyweight, but one, Chris, that might be finding the end of his career at 41 years old. You get the feeling he's been so busy the last couple of years that he's trying to get those fights in before the end, yes?
Yeah, absolutely, and honestly, he's been performing great against the best oppositions thus far. He's near and dear to my heart. He trains Long Island with an old friend of mine, St. Scooter Honig, does strength conditioning. I've seen him in camp a few times. Thoroughly impressed with his athleticism, being such a big guy, and still trains hard even at 41 years old. But he's had a really good run these past couple fights, these past couple years, since his loss to Ergovich, which is a very, very close fight. I called that fight. It was razor thin. He's a dangerous guy, man. He can punch with both hands. He's big. He's durable. He's got the Olympic background, huge amateur background. He's a problem for everyone in the division, and his power is real.
Yeah, Teddy, I'd like to go to you talking about this coaching-wise because he's so big, he's so tall. He's almost part of this new breed of heavyweight that is gigantic and yet, as the champ put out, very athletic. What's your thought on him?
And if that's not enough, he's a southpaw. You know, to screw things up even more when you're fighting him. Not everyone loves to fight a lefty. What Chris said, I mean, it's right on the money. I mean, he just beat Wilder, you know, who's probably looks like he'll probably be done now. But and then he lost a close fight to Parker where he had Parker twice down. I mean, Parker's had a tremendous resurgence, and I don't even know if it's a resurgence, but Parker has been tremendous of late, and we'll talk about him later. But he lost a close fight to Parker, and then he lost a fight to Hrgović that Chris touched on that could have went either way. Matter of fact, I think when I watched it originally, I thought Zhang had won. So, yeah, I mean, he fits, you know, he fits right in there. Big guy. The only thing with him, and maybe it's touches on him, his age, is that his gas tank runs low late. That's I don't think you can get around that. I don't think you can argue that. It's happened a few times now where late in a fight his gas tank will start to move towards that E. But he's a big guy, you know, I don't have to tell you he's a puncher. His name is Bang. Or what's his nickname? Bang,
yeah, Bang.
Bang. Yeah, there you go. Yes.
So right there, you know that obviously he can bang. Yeah, he's a guy that fits right in. And he's a guy that it's all about today. You know, got to get it done. Got to get it done. He'll fight anybody. And he has no choice. You know, when you talk about the clock is ticking, it is literally ticking for him.
When you look at it, Paulie, what is his upside? Of course, the Deontay Wilder win, a big one for him on a gigantic stage, getting the knockout. But his upside for the end of the year, do you think momentum is on his side career-wise?
I think the upside is that he wants to fight everybody. He wants all the smoke, and I think any big fights offered to him, Jhilei Zhang doesn't turn them down. He fights them. You know, my two broadcast partners here made a great point because he's never lost any fight convincingly. So if anything, Jhilei Zhang, if he starts to become beatable, it's probably due to more his age than anything else at this point. You know, Teddy, you talk about his gas tank running out late in fights. You know, he is in his 40s at this point. So, you know, these kind of things start to maybe fall off the wagon a little bit. But if you really look at it even in his better years, and he's obviously probably his prime was way long ago. He probably passed his prime and still performing well. He's never been defeated convincingly, and that's not easy to do. You know, both fights that he lost, you know, there was a little bit of aura of controversy. You know, Parker, he was a little bit against Parker, he was a little bit lackluster, but he did get the 2 knockdowns. Against Ergovich, really people were kind of split on which direction the fight went, and Ergovich got the nod. But, you know, the upside for Zhang is at this age, he's going to look for all the smoke. And honestly, even not at this age, again, I talked about Eastern fighters. They want all the smoke anyway. So he's going to look for the biggest fights possible. I don't know what is going to come his way, but he's going to be a fun guy to watch for as long as he lasts. I don't know that he's going to be there much longer. So him being in top 5 says a lot about his character, that he's still able to maintain himself at a high level in a pretty deep weight class.
Coach, you just talked about him, so I'll go to you first about Joseph Parker. He's number 4 on our list. He has won his last 5, including wins over Zhang and Deontay Wilder. What's your thought about him being number 4 on our list here, Coach?
Yeah, and he lost to Joshua way back in 2018. Parker belongs there. He's fought everybody. To steal a phrase from Paulie, he takes all the smoke too. Yeah. He does. The guy, he knows how to build a fire. He's got sticks, and he'll go and build a fire anywhere. You gotta give him so much credit. And he can do so many things. He can box. He can use his legs. I've seen him do that. In a conventional way of being just an all-out boxer for a big, strong guy. And then he can go get you when he has to go get you, which he did in spots with Wilder. He boxed a little bit, and then he went and pressed the issue when he had to press the issue. So he's another guy that'll fight anybody. What is he, 36 now? So he's, again, he's not looking to waste time. He'll fight anyone. He has fought anyone. He has fought everyone. He belongs right there, and he's knocking at the door to get a title fight to move up even further.
Well, 32 years old, which is not old for a heavyweight. As you often point out, Chris, 32. Yeah, they get started a little bit older. What's your thought on him, Chris, in terms of does he have the name value and the style to get big name fights with the big guys coming up later this year? Already has a couple on his list.
Well, yeah, I mean, how do you become a name guy? Is you beat the name guys, and he's doing that. He beat Wilder, he beat Zhang. I mean, those are huge wins. I think recently he made some life altercations, which now has resurged his career. And it's funny that you mentioned he's 32. I remember we were getting ready to talk about the Wilder fight. And I'm like, man, this guy's 32 years old. He's been around forever. He's fought everybody.
Yeah, that's why I thought to your point.
Yeah. I always thought he was an older guy too, Teddy. So I don't knock you at all for
I always think Canelo's like 40.
Yeah,
No, he started 15. He's 33. Yeah.
But Parker's been around for a very long time. And listen, I look at Parker like a middle distance runner. He's not a sprinter per se. He's not a marathon runner. He's right in the middle, or even better yet, like a soccer. He's like a midfielder. He's all over the place. He's good. He's pretty good at everything. He's not great at any one thing. He's not super fast. He's not a super power puncher. He's not the greatest boxer in the world, but he's good at everything. Solid from top to bottom. And in a heavyweight division where you got guys who are really good at some things and really not good at other things, this is why you get Joseph Parker here in the top 5, where he could literally tangle with anybody in the division. He's going to be a trouble for anyone in the division, and he might be champion again. He could be. I could see him, even a rematch with Joshua. I'm sure he's probably chomping at the bit for that fight to avenge
Especially
a loss.
Now.
Getting a title fight. He's right there. Even I could see him fighting Dubois. That fight would make a lot of sense to make as his first defense.
And to your point, Chris, he's good at everything. And he's good in the most important area, the mental area.
Yeah, big heart, big psychology.
All you need to know is he got off the floor twice against Zhang. I mean, just a mammoth of a man. And it was early enough in the fight, too. He gets off the floor twice, and then he comes back and, presses the envelope. A lot of guys in that position, they might do enough to survive and blow a decision after 2 10-8 rounds, not do enough to come back. But no, he, like I said, in the mental area, as well as all the areas you touched on, he comes up aces.
Paulie, what's your thought? Did you put him number 4 on your list? Was he higher? Was he lower? Let me know, bud.
Yeah, he was 4 on my list, actually. He was right where this list is pretty sharp, actually, in terms of my opinions anyway. I love that matchup, champ. Dubois versus Parker. Parker is a guy who doesn't do anything that sticks out at you like, wow. He doesn't wow you with big power, or he's not the most massive heavyweight, even though he's a big guy. But compared to today's heavyweights, he's not a big guy. He doesn't have ultra speed. He just has that intelligence, cerebral stuff that sometimes gets overlooked when it comes to, being fan friendly and being TV friendly. But Parker what makes him fan friendly and TV friendly is the fact that he can compete against all of these top guys and has shown to be able to do that for a while. So he's got longevity at the highest level of the sport as well. And so that automatically gets him this respect, and he continues to get the results he needs. I think he's actually a perfect next fight for Daniel Dubois, and honestly, a tricky next fight for Daniel Dubois. Yes. But it's not it's the kind of fight you kind of want to make for a guy like Dubois. It's not exactly a super fight, but it's a fight that makes you think, wow, that is something to think about.
Dubois is going to be the favorite, and
Dubois is going to be the favorite, but.
Yeah,
Parker brings some things to the table that make him a bit of an uncomfortable position for a guy like Dubois, who's in a lot of ways can sometimes be one-dimensional, and that's what Parker specializes in exposing in a fighter.
Like he did with Wilder, he did that exactly with Wilder. You're on the money.
So I think that's a great matchup, champ. You talk about my matchmaker's hat. You got your matchmaker's hat on today. I
borrowed your hat.
No, well, I'll tell you what. I hope Frank Warren's listening, and I hope the Warren's listening. That is a really fun fight to make.
And Parker deserves it. He deserves a title shot.
But before we go any further, I want to check something out in studio. I want to make sure my ears are all right because Paulie actually said he likes the list. And this is the first time, I think, in the history of this show, I'd be like, am I working okay? Look, Paulie, so I'm going to start with you because right now we're getting to maybe the controversial bit of this top 5, which is at number 3, Paulie, Daniel Dubois. Second or third was where he was going to land. Did you like him at second or third? Tell me why.
I liked him at 3. I don't think you can replace Usyk or Fury quite yet. I think you got to see them again. That fight was too competitive. They'd both shown to be head and shoulders above the rest. And then when they went head to head, they were too competitive. I don't see how you can put them both not ahead of everybody else. That's why I think this list was kind of self-explanatory. I didn't have Zhang at 5. I had Bakoli at 5, but I think the rest of the list is pretty self-explanatory. I don't think you can remove Usyk and Fury because from the top 2, and we'll get to those later. But Dubois has had a resurgence, and he's had a resurgence at a very high rate of speed, where he's sort of become eye-catching, exciting. He's got, again, I feel like Dubois has a little bit of one-dimensionalness to him. And another reason why I think 3 is fine for him and not 2, because he's still going to be a guy who I'm not sure he has the versatility to handle certain other things. He's mentally strong, and that's a big deal. He's mentally come around and is mentally strong right now. He's got big power. He goes and gets you, so he's a lot of fun. But I think there's also things where he may be a bit one-dimensional, not as versatile as you'd like to be, sort of like Fury and Usyk are. They're at their best, they're very versatile fighters. But I think for where we're at in the heavyweight division, where you're going to put him? I mean, I don't think you can put him further back than 3. He's been putting on one great performance after another in fights. Well, let me tell you, I don't know if he was favored in any of these fights. I think the Usyk fight, he was an underdog.
All 3.
Then was it the Jarrell Miller fight? The Ergovich fight, he was an underdog. The Jarrell Miller fight, I think he was an underdog. Mm-hmm. And against Joshua, he was an underdog. This guy just fought 4
He's a dog.
Where he was an underdog, lost 1 with a hint of controversy, and won the other 3. That is not, and so he has not had an easy road. When you win in fights where you're not expected to come out successfully, and you do this consistently, which is almost unheard of. Like I said, you got most guys in today's boxing don't even want to take on guys who they might be underdogs with if they've got a position. Dubois has a big position in England, and yet he's continuing to test himself, and he's been rewarded for this now with the IBF heavyweight title. And I think he's going to put himself in a position to get the winner of Usyk and Fury.
Champ, 3 of those last 4 fighters that he fought were undefeated too. Usyk, Jarrell, and Ergovich. He stopped 2 of them.
Yep. All the smoke. Yep. The top heavyweights want all the smoke.
Teddy, I have to ask you, as a coach of heavyweights, famously Michael Moore, Mike Tyson, the combination of skills that Dubois has, how impressive is it to you? What's your thought on it?
Well, he's thick. He's one of those guys, from a training standpoint, I'm sure the champions would look at this and understand this, but you see guys, maybe Joshua fits into this, but you see guys that, they got good genetics. If you don't have good genetics, you're not going to have a special body, no matter how hard you work. But you see guys that have that gym weight room physique, where it's helped by the obviously by the hard work in the weight room. And then you got the guys that are just naturally strong, where they're just born with heavy bones, thicker. Dubois that guy where, I don't know what he does in the weight room or if he ever picked up a weight, but he's the kind of guy who has that natural bone strength, if you will. And for me, that kind of strength through my 50 years in this business has always been more than the strength you pick up in the gym. Not that that's not, of any worthiness. Of course it is. But that kind of strength. So he has that. And I tell you, he can be one-dimensional, but I'll show you a dimension he showed against Joshua the other night, where you got to give him credit. He stepped back when Joshua was feeling a little confident in the 5th round and trying to come back. And Joshua was one-dimensional. He threw 3 right hands in a row, 2 of them straight, no jab, no feint, on a straight line, coming in. He threw 1 right hand, then he threw another lead right hand, then he threw an uppercut from too far away. He never should have thrown it, left the door wide open. But we know that the right hand of Dubois landed and knocked him out. But what we might not have noticed is he gave ground. He gave ground. So it shows me that he's thinking in there. He gave ground. He did what that old saying is. He gave Joshua enough rope to hang himself. He gave him enough room to make a mistake, to reach a little bit with the uppercut. And so that shows me something right there. A little subtle, but not that subtle. I noticed that, and I give him a lot of credit for that. That one other thing. He's 26 years old. We're talking about age. This guy's only going to get better. Better in all areas. When you win a title, you've heard me say this before, guys. The old timers would Cus D'Amato and the old timers would always tell me, Teddy, a guy wins a title, he gets 30% better. This guy gets 30% better. That's going to be something to look for. That's going to be something as impressive as he's been. If he keeps getting better in those kind of leaps and bounds, he might be around for a lot longer than people think. And then one other thing, the mental landscape, which is always the most important to me. This is a guy who 2 fights ago, they touched on it, the 2 champs, but 2 fights ago, he loses to Joyce and Usyk. Usyk a little controversial, but in the end, he broke down mentally. I mean, you can't argue. He broke down. Yeah, he got hit low and this and that. Maybe it could have been a knockout if they would have. But at the end of the day, it wasn't. And he broke down. And then he broke down against Joyce. Yeah, listen, he got a broken orbital bone. But at that time, obviously, he didn't know that. He got accused of breaking down mentally. He got.
But what I'm curious about, but Teddy, this is what you just talked about, Chris. Is you think he's got that dog in him now since then?
But
that
what
he's better
I'm saying,
now, right?
Jimmy, what I'm saying to finish it is that he redeemed himself. Right. He went and he redeemed himself. He went, and I really believe that those fights that he fought after, the ones Paulie was talking about, fighting all those guys and beating all those guys as an underdog, I really believe, starting with the Miller fight, then a Herjavec fight, he would have took those fights for free because he was fighting for redemption. He was fighting for his soul. He was fighting for the right to look in the mirror and have somebody look back that he liked. He was fighting for the right to walk down the street and feel like a man. And he's there now.
Is that the most impressive thing to you,
Chris?
Chris?
Reason why he won the heavyweight title.
Yeah. Is that the most impressive thing to you, Chris?
Well,
aside
Jimmy,
from the physical talent.
We talk off air. I'm big on Dubois right now because of all the things that you two masters of this sport just spoke about. But the only reason I have him at number 3 and not number 2 is because I've seen him quit. I've never seen Tyson Fury quit. Tyson Fury gets off the canvas. I've never seen Usyk lose. I've never seen him quit.
He found himself, Chris. He found himself.
No, I agree. Himself. I agree. But that's the only reason I got to have him outside of the top 2. Because
he basically looked the devil right in the eye and he spit in his face.
I was going to say he punched his head off the way that this guy's been active lately. But yeah, no, everything you guys said, I completely agree. I'm a big fan of Dubois. I think he's turned a corner. I've been saying that for months now. Obviously, what he did this past weekend was amazing. But yeah, I got him outside the top 2, just like the list says, just like you said, Paulie. because I've seen those guys do different. I've seen them do more. I got to see more from Dubois. 26.
Look, our 1 and 2, we know what they are, and they're going to be fighting. It's Alexander Usyk, of course, and Tyson Fury in a big, one of those kind of rematches that we can't wait to see. So rather than go through each guy individually, they're going to be fighting anyway. The question I want to ask to the panel, starting with you, Chris, do you expect a different outcome next time in this fight? It is 1 and 2, and that's it.
I can see it. I mean, we're splitting hairs between 1 and 2 here, guys. These guys are both phenomenal. And, their first fight was epic. It was a fantastic fight, start to finish. There was ebbs and flows. It was not a dominant performance by either man. There was a point where Fury was dominating early on in the middle rounds. There was a point where he almost got knocked out, and then Usyk take over. And guess what? Fury comes back and wins the last round. So this is that kind of fight. When you got two behemoths of the sport like this, and I don't mean behemoths in terms of their physical size, I mean in terms of like their aura, their character, who they represent in the sport. When you got two guys like that who are fighting, you get these neck and neck, round by round. Every round's a different fight, the way a boxing match is supposed to be when it's at the highest level of competition. And in terms of who's going to win the fight, could it be different? Absolutely. I could see Tyson picking up where he was going in those middle rounds. He says he fell off and felt a little too confident, making it look too easy, and then he got cracked. I don't know how true that really is, but I could see him going into that mode where he's boxing and moving and juking and jiving and giving Usyk so much trouble, plus the size difference. I remember watching this, I'm like, this isn't even fair.
They are not heavyweight.
This is not even fair. Tyson Fury is so much bigger, and he's moving so well. He was making it look easy during parts of that fight.
One guy's a super heavyweight, the other guy's a big cruiserweight.
I mean, Usyk, which is funny though. We talk about how like small Usyk is. He's the same size as Muhammad Ali. So it's just we're in a different era now. We got guys who are 290 now. We got
He's
guys
a bear.
who are
He's
300
a
pounds.
bear on roller skates.
A bear on roller skates. Yeah, he's athletic too. That's the crazy part.
All right, so Teddy, I have to ask you, as a coach, it's number 2 versus number 1. Tyson Fury comes to you and says, Teddy, what do I need to do differently this time against Usyk? What are you telling him?
Oh, from a technical standpoint, there's a couple of things that stand out to me. I always say you set the table with the jab, which he did. He used his jab very well. It's not just his size and his girth that he could go inside and put that on you, but his size on the outside, his length, he can use that. He's very versatile, like Paulie and Chris said. He can do it either way. And when he's on the outside, which he was with Usyk, using the jab, the only thing that was missing, he was setting the table beautifully. He wasn't eating. He wasn't eating enough. He wasn't doing enough with the jab. And guess what? When you don't eat at the table with a guy as hungry as Usyk, he gonna eat. He gonna steal the meal. And there ain't gonna be nothing left on the table. And that, for me, I would start with that. Set the table, do more off of it with the right hand, whatever. And the other thing would be the punch, I think was the 6th round. There was other than the punches Usyk landed later to almost knock out Fury, but the biggest punch was the right uppercut. Use it more. I know you got to disguise it. You can't do what Joshua did. You got to disguise it, throw it at the right time so you don't leave yourself vulnerable to a counter, but use it more. Landed was possibly, I think it was his most significant punch of the night, maybe. You didn't see it enough. So, and maybe one other thing I throw in there, partly because we have seen Usyk affected here, and I think that it affected him a little bit in that fight, but he didn't go to the well enough. Go to the body a little bit more. Go, you're a bigger guy. I always say there's no better way to impose your physicality if you're the bigger man on a smaller man than to do it against the smaller man's body. And
Paulie,
then, those are the technical things I look for against a guy who is one of the greatest winners I've ever seen, and that's Usyk.
Yeah, for sure. Paulie, the significance of this rematch, is it the most significant heavyweight title fight of our era? Is this it? Is this our Ali Frazier?
The stakes get raised every single time, right? I mean, I tell you, actually, what I want to add one more thing. I noticed in the early rounds, Usyk was backing up Fury. Fury was trying to jab, but Usyk was backing up Fury. He let himself impose himself, and it was Fury, who was kind of moving around, and Usyk was trying to stay in his face. Now, it wasn't a very physical fight, and Fury actually had some success in the early rounds, but psychologically, you're letting this guy back you up, back you up, back you up. It causes more stress, and I think that stress caused eventually led to the success Usyk had in the middle rounds. I'd say you got to use your jab, but you got to back Usyk up, and if you back Usyk up with your physicality, with your jab, and you suddenly force Usyk to try to close the gap and come forward at you, then you can walk him into that uppercut, because now he's being backed up behind your jab, behind your physicality. When he's got to make a move, that's when you can set the trap for the uppercut that was working so well. I think there was a big psychological edge there for Usyk, even though in the early rounds Fury did well. Usyk staying in his face. Remember, Fury can box going backwards. He did it in the first Wilder fight. But the thing about Wilder is he's got 2 left feet. Usyk knew how to cut off the ring very well, keep the mental pressure on very well, and back the Fury to where he felt the pressure. Wilder was coming forward, but Fury still felt comfortable boxing on the back foot, because there was no cutting off the ring. The guy's just walking instead of cutting the ring off the right way.
You make a great, what you just said is on the money, because I think what I said holds water too. But what you said is,
I love them together, because it sets up the uppercut better.
And what you said is, there's no doubt, I don't think there's arguing this, if you know anything about boxing, that at the end of the day, Usyk wore down Fury because he was applying pressure from the opening bell. That was his plan. I mean, you could see it. Even when he was losing the first 6 rounds, applying pressure, applying pressure, applying pressure. He was looking to break him down, and he was looking for the payoff to come late. And you know what? The payoff came late. The one thing I would add for this fight, to me, the most important, both guys lost and left a lot in the ring that night. Who left more in the ring? For me, that's the winner. That's the winner. That's the loser. That's it.
I'm going to say something, unpopular opinion here. For Fury, he's got to make the fight ugly. He uses the old Lennox Lewis tactic: 1-2, grab, boom, fall, drop the weight on him. The way he fought Klitschko, it was an ugly.
That's easier said than done, because Usyk is versatile and can step back.
Yeah, but if he starts putting that body on him, you mentioned he's a bear on roller skates, Teddy. If he starts bear hugging this guy and making it really physical,
I know, but how you gonna, when you go to bear hug him, look out he don't catch the 3 shots that you go to bear hug.
That's essentially what happened in the first fight. But
Since we're already talking about Usyk, who's our number 1, of course, on this list, on virtually every list, Chris, the major question is, if he beats Fury this second time in this rematch, where do you put him all time?
Yeah, he's one of the best heavyweights of all time, and one of the best boxers of all time, really. I mean, he's a cruiserweight champion, undisputed, heavyweight champion, undisputed. He's really fighting in a weight class he doesn't belong in right now, guys. And he's beating the best guys. He just beat Dubois. Yeah, he beat Anthony Joshua. He beat Tyson Fury. He beat all the guys. Like, I was watching this fight this last week, and I'm like, man, Usyk is so good. He beat both these guys. We're watching this awesome fight. I'm like, wow, Usyk beat both these guys. Nah, he's a tremendous athlete. And you said it best, Teddy. He's just a winner. The guy is the winningest guy. He just does not know how to lose, and that's why he's at where he's at. That's his greatest asset.
We could talk about the physical asset of his legs and all that stuff, and his elusive abilities and his technical, how solid he is technically. All those things are true. But you're right. I mean, his greatest asset is his ability to find a way to win, period.
Paulie, when you look at the historical legacy here, should he win, of course, in a Fury match, which is not a given, is he one of the best all time to you?
Absolutely. He's one of the best all time right now. I mean, you just heard the champ mention the names that he just defeated in this era. He's one of the best all time regardless. Cementing it with a win here would really be fundamental for him and unbelievable for him. And I'll answer that question. I'll also answer the question you asked me before, Jimmy, because I didn't answer it. How is it the most important fight of this era? Yeah. It is, because the most important fight of this era was going to be Wilder versus Joshua. And then not only did it never happen, but these are the 2 guys that vanquished Wilder and Joshua. Fury beat Wilder a couple of times. Usyk beat Joshua a couple of times. There was a moment in this era where Wilder and Joshua was the fight that was going to make the era. And it didn't happen. And then these 2 guys themselves were the ones who vanquished them twice. twice, mind you. So this head-to-head matchup becomes the matchup of the era, and the fact that it was so close and they were both undefeated showed that they were both head and shoulders above everybody else. The fact the fight was so close in the first time around, and you got to have a rematch. That's why for me these guys have to stay 1-2 right now until we get this result. Because even the first fight, both undefeated, both coming off these huge wins, and the fight was so competitive, they've still continued to separate themselves from everybody else, but they can't separate themselves very well from each other. Let's see if we get that in this rematch.
Well, that's the important thing about the heavyweight division, right? As heavyweight division goes boxing.
Yes. Yeah, the health of the sport often depends on the heavyweight division. I got a great quote that I think really encapsulates Usyk. Every day is a new day. It is better to be lucky, but I would rather be exact. Then when the luck comes, you are ready. When the luck comes, you are ready. Ernest Hemingway said that in The Old Man in the Sea. And I think that makes me think about Usyk. It's like, hey, would you rather be lucky or be exact? He's exact. You know, you might say it's luck, but nah, I don't think it's luck. That last fight wasn't luck. That was exact.
Also, to take advantage of luck, because everybody needs a little bit of luck, you need to be prepared. You know, preparation. Right, that's exactly. You need to be able to take advantage of luck, and that's why that quote is so great, Champ. Because you know, it's even when there's luck, the preparation still comes into play, because you have, in order to be in position to take advantage of any luck, you've got to have prepared adequately.
One thing the old man should have put the fish up on the boat, because the sharks. They
got him.
Well, he's looking to boat the fish in a huge rematch end of the year. That's right. We'll all be looking forward to Usyk versus Fury. Remember how the heavyweight division goes, so goes boxing. That's our ranking show. You like our top 5? You hate our top 5? You want to add to our top 5? All you have to do, download the ProBox TV app, make your voice heard, and never fall behind on your boxing news. This has been the ranking show. We'll see you next time.
Wednesday Night Fights.
Dynamite action on Wednesday Night Fights every other Wednesday on your boxing channel.
Coming up on your next Wednesday Night Fights, October 9th. Chris, Primetime Colbert, and Omar Super Salcido step into the ring for what is sure to be a barn burner. Live from the ProBox Event Center in Plant City. Get your tickets at ProBoxTV.com or take your chances at the door. Wednesday Night Fights.
For more ProBox TV, scan the QR code on the screen or go to the App Store and Google Play. ProBox TV, your boxing channel.